So tonight, we're lucky to have a number of presenters. And we're going to talk about electric road trips. And we have people that are going to be talking about road trips in Tesla Model S, Chevy Bolt, Tesla Model 3, Tesla Model Y. So we're going to kind of hit a lot of different things. And with this graphic, you can see that there are a lot of different plug types. And so we'll be talking a little bit about PlugShare and how you can kind of personalize that to your vehicle and your profile. So, and like I say, we'll kind of hit all kinds of things. And if you would, just please save questions for the end. And so you can ask any of our speakers or all of our speakers different questions. And once we're done with the road trip portion of our program, we'll have Tony from EV60 talking about the MCU1 issues in the older Model S Nexus. So stay tuned for that too. And our first speaker today is Keith Mikas, and he is our VP and a longtime member. And I know he has driven just about every EV known to man. When he and I were working with Electric Car Death Drive, I followed him all over upstate New York. He was driving a Leaf, a Jag I-Pace, Bolt, Tesla, like whatever, whatever was needed. So without further ado, I'm going to let Keith take it away and tell you all about the ski trip in a Chevy Bolt.
Heather, thank you. So as the title implies, you know, we decided to take our Bolt to a ski trip. We do have a Tesla and a Nissan Leaf, so we figured why not have an adventure. You want to do next slide? So we all know that it has a range of 238 miles. So going up and back, you know, 120 miles, it should be no problem, you know, but factors, uphill a lot of the way, cold outside, 4 adults, and a lot of ski gear, munchies. So, you know, not exactly straightforward, but it can be done. Next one. So, you know, just planning it on paper, you know, Google, PlugShare, really simple, straightforward. I kind of looked at the route, decided which route from San Diego up there to Mountain High would be the best route. But at the same time, I kind of looked at, if I did run into problems, where might be the closest chargers be? You know, on the back side of the mountain, on the front side. So then we kind of headed out. Next one. So my plan was, at the base of the, before you head up, there's a Walmart in San Bernardino that, you know, has about a 7.8 PlugShare rating, versus Winco Foods is a little bit further south from Marina Valley. It has a perfect 10. It has 2 CCS chargers, also has about a half dozen restaurants. So we left our house fully charged. We went up to skiing. We got up there and we had 50 miles of range at the top of the mountain, which didn't scare me because it was only about 35 miles back to Walmart. But I figured we're going downhill and we'd regain a lot of that. So let's go next one. Like I said, but here's kind of the choice. You know, you see these are, I just chose the CCS chargers available. At the top of your kind of screen on the left side, you'll see that's where the Walmart was. So I figured if I couldn't make it, that would be my quickest choice. Versus I looked really around what food choices there were. And that's how kind of Winco at the bottom of the screen, there was one charger there and one kind of on the other side of the street in a San Bernardino's kind of county facility. And I figured food and charging in, you know, about 45 minutes should be a good afternoon as the sun starts setting. All right, next one. That's well in the pretty uneventful. My wife, of course, you know, a little scared, but it's her car, so I proved to her that, you know, you can do a road trip, you know, with the four of us and gear. Uh, yeah, just a little planning, and like I said, it really wasn't that much in the back of my mind. I knew San Bernardino there was plenty of CCS charging just once we came down the mountain, and I was hoping like the Nissan Leaf, you know, you just gain a lot of miles going down the mountain regenerating. I think that's my last
Excellent.
slide.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
thanks, Pete. And next up, we have Bob Unger, who is has been a member of the chapter for a long time and also takes care of our video recordings that we upload to YouTube. So for any meetings that you miss, you can always go to our YouTube channel and see the main portion there. And so without further ado, I'll let Bob tell you all about his trips in his Model S.
Oh, I started out with 179 miles on my Model S 3 days after I bought it. I went to the Mexican border and headed toward the Canadian border. And if anyone wants to see all the details, they can see that on a video that I posted up to YouTube. And ironically enough, halfway up, Tesla decided they were going to do a run from San Diego up to Vancouver. I didn't go all the way to Vancouver because I didn't want to chance going into a foreign country with only temporary registration on my car. But this was way back in 2013. It was my first chance to be really trying out the nice new car. And just before I took possession, they opened up the last 3 superchargers. It was Corning, Mount Shasta, and Grants Pass, so that there was actually superchargers to be able to make the whole trip. So as far as I know, I was the first one to do that. And on the way back, I stopped off at the finish line party that Tesla had. And that's me next to one of the cars they drove while they're at the finish line party in Seattle on the way back. Now, at that time, I didn't know anything about the range anxiety. I did get stuck a little bit. I really didn't get stuck, but I pulled into Folsom with, I believe it was 4 miles of range, not really being aware of the fact that things like cold and temperature and wind make a difference. Again, that was me being green. And as you can see, this was a map from way back then. There really weren't a whole lot of superchargers to get from place to place. I believe Elaine said that this is the 2014 map. So there's actually a route across the northern half of the country, which I then took in 2014, a trip back and wound up as far back as Pittsburgh. But now it's pretty much the same as you would go into any gas car. You just jump in your car and take off and go. For the most part, you don't even need to check to see if you got enough miles to go anywhere because there's probably a supercharger close enough to where you're starting from. So that's the beauty of a Tesla. One of the things I've carried with, I'm an electrical engineer, and one of the things I carry with me is a cord which has on one end the NEMA 1550 plug, and the other end is a 50 amp breaker. So I can actually plug into virtually anybody's electric panel and be able to charge. And I do that just both because of the safety aspect of not being stuck, but I also use that as my destination charger when I stay at a relative's house. For example, when I stayed at my in-laws up in Washington State, just plugged it into the garage and I had the same convenience as I have at home. Same thing when I visited my uncle in Pittsburgh. It's just that little bit of a safety net that I can plug in. I don't know what else to tell you about road tripping than just do it. That I know that when I've gone another trip, you think that we're being out in the boonies, that it may be a little difficult to find a place to charge. But nowadays there's so many motels that have a destination charger. It's really easy to spend the night. And usually it's not just Tesla chargers. They've got the 1772, they've got the other charger cords. So you can charge up overnight. And if you're really doing a road trip, instead of just trying to transport your car and your body from point A to point B, you probably don't need to go too much more than whatever the range of your car is in a day's time. And if you can spend the night at a charging motel, you're golden. And if you're out in the boonies, I have stayed in campgrounds where they've got the plug-in charger there. I remember one time I stayed and they said, well, we're not really sure how to charge you. I guess we'll just charge you a pet fee, but just plug in over there. And I was charged up again, ready to go in the morning. So as a veteran EV driver, Teslas, and I assume all the others as well, if you've got enough range to get a good distance on each hop, there's no reason why you just can't take a road trip. It is really not that much more difficult than a gas car. And once you've driven electric, which I assume most of you have, it is so much more relaxing to drive an electric vehicle because you don't need to worry about, I think I can, as you're trying to go uphill. And that regenerative braking just makes it that 1 foot driving such a pleasure. So that's a summary of what I've experienced going back almost 7 years. If you haven't done a nice road trip, I highly recommend it. Back to you.
Excellent. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, like Bob was saying, it's so much easier now. You know, he did his first trip in 2013, which is amazing. I did my first road trip cross country in 2015, and again, it's so much easier now. And you know, I see online people with Model 3s worried about, you know, range when, you know, they've got over 300 miles of range, and I'm thinking, you know, my P85D started out with 253 miles of range, but by the time I sold it a few weeks ago, it was at about 232. So, and, you know, as most people know, you don't always get those full miles. So, but it's, you know, I've been everywhere with my car. So if you drive electric, no matter what you drive, or even if you don't drive electric, I recommend putting PlugShare on your phone, because, you know, one of the best way, I hear so many people telling me, oh, I couldn't drive electric, there are no chargers near me. And I'll pull up PlugShare for them, and they're always astounded at how many chargers are in their neighborhood. And then when you let them know that your neighborhood is probably the last place that you'll ever need a charger because you'll be charging at home. But, you know, most of us know the drill. I had a friend, you know, who wanted to go to Nova Scotia, and she just insisted we take her car because her Canadian friends told her there were no chargers in Nova Scotia. And, you know, when you pull up PlugShare, you can't go 20 miles in Nova Scotia without seeing a level, at least a level 2 charger. So on PlugShare, it's important, you know, especially on, you know, anything other than the Tesla superchargers, check in and let other people know how long you're going to be there. There's nothing more frustrating than needing the one charger or, you know, couple of chargers that are in town and they're occupied, and you have no idea, is that person going to be there another 10 minutes? Or are they going to be there another 2 hours? So check in on PlugShare, and it lets you check off how long you're going to be there, or how long you expect to be there. You can also leave reviews with tips on everything from, you know, how well that charger's working, what is around that charger, what amenities are around that charger. You can also, if the charger's a little bit difficult to find, you know, take a picture or leave written notes on where that charger is. And one thing that's really important when you're traveling in national parks and other remote areas, I always recommend look at what chargers are around and then pull that up. And especially if there are special instructions that, you know, that charger's located behind the little shed in the back of the parking lot, take a screenshot of that so that when you don't have cell service and you're needing a charge, and there's nothing worse than that there is a charger there, but you can't find it. You know, so I always recommend taking screenshots. And then this is a typical screenshot of like the Yosemite Valley area. So you can see all the different chargers around. And in fact, I was just up at this one in Lee Vining. Kitty Adams from Adopt a Charger program put in a solar pavilion. That's a great place to stop and have a picnic. It's right across the street pretty much from Mono Lake. and they have a level 2 charger there that's free. So you can see over here on the left-hand side with PlugShare, there are filters. You can filter for just level 2 or just Chatham-owned CCS or superchargers, or you can say, no, give me everything. Give me even, you know, Mary Smith that has her wall charger listed on there. So PlugShare has a lot of functionality. And as you know, Bob was talking about, there's pretty much nowhere that you can't go in an electric vehicle now. This was me when I was up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and you can see all these red dots here, all the Tesla superchargers, and you know, I think they're putting a couple chargers up in the UP right now, but there was pretty much nothing up there when I went. There's a level 2 charger in Houghton and a level 2 charger in Marquette. But the nice thing is that with PlugShare, even individuals will put their home or cabin on PlugShare. So this is a guy named Ian, and this is his cabin up in the middle of nowhere in the Upper Peninsula, and he has a, you know, 240 outlet on the side of the cabin. And so, you know, I contacted him via PlugShare, and he was like, yep, knock yourself out. Nobody's up there. But so it was right on a little lake. I just took a little walk for about an hour and let the car charge. And then this was at a, I think it was in New Hampshire at a ranger station. And so they had a Clipper Creek charger that they would let you use for $5. And then literally within a 5-minute walk was this waterfall in the picture. So a lot of times you find really cool stuff that you wouldn't have found otherwise. Another good tool is a better route planner. So with a better route planner, again, just like PlugShare, you can put in the type of car you have, how much range you have, all of that, so that it knows you, and then it will plot out your trip for you if you want, and let you know even how long you're going to have to stop and charge at each charger. And here again, this was up near Sonora in the Sierras, and I had stayed overnight here one night, and I couldn't get any of the outlets in the house to work. I'd taken my charger around to every outlet, and it just wouldn't go green, and so I think they weren't grounded. And then the next morning, I was in the bathroom, which was actually the back side of the cabin, and I noticed there was a GFI plug in the bathroom. So it was like, bingo. So I ran the cord out the bathroom window, out the back of the cabin, and got about 2 miles of charge per hour. But I was there for like 3 or 4 days. So by the time I left, I had almost a full charge. So there you go. So pretty much, I guess my point is that you can charge just about anywhere. RV parks will typically let you charge, and that's another good use of PlugShare, in that usually there are reviews on there that will let you know that, you know, yes, they'll let you charge, or no, they won't, or they charge you $5, or they want to charge you $50, or whatever the case may be. So, you know, definitely with RV parks and other places, it's always a good idea to call ahead and kind of find out if they'll let you charge there. But I've always had really good luck, and just using my 240 adapter has worked perfectly. So there you have it. And so our next road tripper is Jaden, and he recently got his Model Y, and I just can't even believe he was brave enough, took his family, including his 1-year-old, on some camping trips. So, oh, and I forgot to put his son's name in there. So Jaden, I'm gonna let you
No
take it.
worries. Yeah. We did not actually name our son XXX. His name's Carter. It was a wonderful trip that we went on. So we actually got our Model Y in early July. So we've had it for just over a month now. Just recently ticked over the 4,500 mile mark. So similar idea to Bob, you know, just got the car, wanted to take it on a fun trip. So that's what we did. We spent about 2 weeks Went up from our home base in Arizona up through Utah and Idaho, and then directly over to Oregon, spent some time there, and then down the California coast. So had a great time. A lot of the topics I'll be going over in this 5-10 minutes is really more so on the camping aspect of it and how to camp in the Tesla Model Y. So we can hop through the next couple slides. I think we've got a quick photo of what that looks like. You can pull up to really any campsite. It's so convenient. Not all of them do have electricity, at least the ones that we went to, but if you can plan that accordingly and get electricity in all of your campsites, that just makes everything so much easier, so much less hassle. Wake up in the morning with a full charge and you're good to go. So the next slide talked about some of the places we went to. Now I know we're holding questions to the end, but if anyone has any questions on any of these areas that we spent some time in, more than happy to help with those. We can go to the next slide. The first tips that I had, specifically locations for charging. So if you're going to be choosing a campsite, spend the time to plan out where the charging stations are going to be, whether that's the supercharger you're looking for, or if you can, find an RV site that does have electricity. I would call in advance if possible to see what type of charge they have. We did run into, I think, twice occasions where we were told that they had an EMA 1450, and that's the only adapter that we have. And subsequently arriving found out that they did not. So I should have called directly, but I used website information that might have been outdated. So that would be my learning and recommendation there. But you also have other options. So parking lots, casino parking lots, bigger restaurants, Walmarts are also famous for allowing people to stay overnight in their parking lots. So that's another convenient option if it's something you're looking into, a trip you're trying to plan. So I would recommend that as well, at least looking into it. We can go to the next slide. So this is one of the campsites we did end up charging at. You can see, I think, the post that I'm plugged into there in the back, that one did have an EMA 1450. And when you can find 50 amp charging, it's incredibly fast. I mean, it's not going to be as fast as your wall charger at home, but it's very, very close. So using that was a great option. Leaving the camp mode on does not take too much battery out of the charge, the overall charge. Our experience was right around 13% overnight, and we were using camp mode for an average of about 10 hours per night. So we spent a lot of time in the car sleeping, which was a miracle with a 1-year-old. So it was a brave adventure, but we were really happy that he did so well. We can go to the next slide. One of the things that we bought when we got the car was a NEMA. I'll go to the second one. The charging connector was a NEMA 1450. We got that from Tesla, and I think you can get a bundle of different adapters. We chose not to go with that one because most of those adapters are fairly niche. You're welcome to look into those specifics, but for our use case, we grabbed the 1450, and I would love to make my next purchase a TT30 because at almost all the campsites, the RV ones that we did see, there were TT30 chargers, which we could have got 30 amps, ended up having to plug into whether it's a regular wall outlet or just nothing. So that will probably be on our list for our next purchase, but making the trip a little bit less anxious would probably be a useful tool to have, would be that adapter. We also brought a mattress with us. We've done car camping before in our old SUV with the Mazda CX-5, but we just use the exact same mattress and it fits perfectly. So I wouldn't necessarily be too choosy when trying to find a mattress that will fit the car. It's very spacious from what we could tell. Obviously, the three of us slept in there just fine. But yeah, so having that made things a lot more comfortable. And the window shades, we got those, I believe, from Heat Shield, but they fit for each window. So we just put those right on each of the windows when we were sleeping, and it definitely helped with the privacy aspect, and just you feel more comfortable when you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So we can go to the next slide. My last tip that I had was essentially space. Packing the car, I think one of the big concerns I had was, if you're sleeping in the car, the stuff has to go somewhere while you're using the trunk to sleep in. So surprisingly, and this is my first electric car, my first Tesla, so underneath the regular trunk area that you would have in a car, there's a significant amount of space beneath the trunk floor you can use, as well as obviously between the seats and the front seats, so that foot legroom area and the front trunk, which is not something that I've had before. So using the space makes things a lot easier. We were even able to fit the car seat, our son's pack and play, and everything that we needed for the trip fit perfectly. We never had to leave anything outside. So the cargo space, we were very pleasantly surprised and very impressed with what the Tesla could do. So you can go to the next slide, give a quick idea of what it looks like for us camping in there. So it's so convenient to just be able to sleep in your car and not have to worry about a tent or anything like that. But we had a wonderful time. It was great. Didn't really worry about any of the typical concerns, and having the car on all night without worrying about gas and emissions was quite nice. The camp mode was incredibly comfortable. So I would definitely be willing to help out with any questions that anyone has, either at the end of this call or just after. If anyone wants to send me a quick question, I'd be happy to answer it. But thanks. Happy to be here and happy to share that.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Yeah, it looks like it was super comfy, and it looks like you had a great time and went to a ton of wonderful places. So that's really cool. And that is one of the things I like best about the car, is that one of the first road trips I did, I was at a supercharger. It was late at night. It was 13 degrees out. And I honestly just didn't want to walk to the hotel, which was the equivalent. It was like on the far side of that parking lot, about like a block away. And I thought, I'm gonna have to drag all my stuff. It's already like midnight. I want to get an early start tomorrow. I'm gonna have to spend another $100. It's like, I'm just sleeping in the car. You know? And it's nice to be able to have that heat or the air going all night. So
Absolutely.
it's a good thing. So, and no mosquitoes. So, all right. And so our next speaker is Arthur Dreesen. And I thought I'd driven a lot. I've done about 125,000 in 5 years, and he's got me beat by a bit. He's done 135,000 miles in just 2 years. So Arthur, take it away.
Hi guys, thanks for having me tonight. So yeah, I have been spending 20 out of the last 24 months living in my Model 3, traveling America. I'm an audio engineer and video editor by trade, so I'm able to work anywhere that I have a internet connection. And I was a day one reservation holder. And after I waited 2 years for my car, I went on a road trip from Los Angeles to Houston within the first month. And afterwards, I just said, how can I do this consistently? And so I started a website called voyagewithoutcarbon.com. And I started exploring the supercharger network and writing about cool stuff to do around the network. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the difficulties that I've had living on the road, but also the not difficult things, the things I've been surprised about as well. And so a lot of it's already been gone over, PlugShare, using RV sites, the amount of superchargers that there are. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't plan at all. Kind of one of my goals is to see, can I do this without planning? Can I just choose a destination, look and see if there's chargers around it, and figure out what I'm doing on my way there? So supercharging is 99% of what I use. So over the 135,000 miles, I started at 310 miles for a full charge. They supposedly bumped me up to 320 at one point, but I never checked. I never went to 100% to check. And right now I'm rated at 303, and that's with 99% supercharging. So, that's some pretty good, they say supercharging will ruin your battery, but I haven't experienced any of that. I have 2 adapters. I decided, just like Jaden, not to go for the whole adapter kit because of the nicheness, but I have the TT30 and I have the 1450, and I've only used the TT30 once, and I've used the 1450 about 20 times. The only places I've really had to use it, middle of Nebraska, up in Glacier National Park, up at the Boundary Waters near Voyager National Park, and then I've had to use it in Forks, Washington, in Olympic National Park before they put in the supercharger. They just opened up a supercharger there, so I won't need to use it the next time that I go. you know, icing is a big fear, and I have never actually been iced out of a charger. I've seen a couple chargers being iced, but I've never encountered a situation where they have absolutely been filled up, which is really kind of promising. You know, and usually if there's a person that is icing, you know, I introduce myself and I strike up a conversation with them, not even talking about the icing at first, and then kind of try to bring it in to the conversation at some point. And then we're already friends and they don't get upset with me. If, you know, if I tell them right away, you know, even I experienced it first, if I told them right away, even if I was trying to be so nice about it, they would get upset. So I learned, you know, just to kind of be nice, but I haven't had really any problems with it where it's locked me out of a charge. The couple times that I have almost run out of battery was Big Bend National Park. I went down there and I put in the visitor center opposed to the Rio Grande. And once I got down there, I figured out that I wouldn't have enough battery to get back. And I could have gone to an RV park, but I decided to try to get back to Fort Stockton. And by going only 40 miles per hour opposed to the 70 that I could have, I was able to put, you know, it said I was going to get to Fort Stockton with -5%. And then slowly over the time, you saw it click back up, -4%, -3%. Finally pulled into the supercharger at 0%, 354-mile round trip in the car when it was rated at 310. So you can push them even further than, you know, they're rated for if you don't go as fast, you know. But then on the flip side, if you're going to be going 70, 80 miles per hour the whole time, you're going to have a little bit less, and it's going to, you know, the map is always figuring it out by the speed limit. It will take in the speed limit and it will take in the elevation changes. But anything else, you know, air conditioning or speeding, you have to take that into account. So I always set it at whatever the speed limit it is, and I've never had a problem. The other time I almost ran out was when I decided to go through North Dakota this last winter, and there weren't any superchargers there yet, and it was -20 degrees. And my goal was to talk to Standing Rock Tribe about the oil spill that was going on. And I also wanted to try to see the oil spill. And so I was in the middle of Standing Rock. You know, it said I was going to get to a destination charger with 10%. They have one at their casino there. But then there was a road closed down and there was absolutely no way around it. And, you know, you start to reroute and you start getting a little bit nervous, you know, but again, by going 35, 40 miles per hour, I was able to get in. Then, you know, once it said 0%, I was able to speed a little bit. And I ended up getting to the place with 4% when it said originally I was going to get there with -3%. So I thought that was pretty cool. Living in the car, you know, I have tons of gear. Well, not tons. I have a bunch of camera gear. I have video cameras. I have drones. You know, I'm an audio engineer too, so I have a bunch of music equipment, you know, microphones and stuff like that. I can fit it all in. I can have all that in, and then a food box, a cooler, pillows, and it all fits in the trunk and the front. Suitcase too. You know, since I'm doing a lot of video, I don't want people to be able to see that I'm actually living in the car. And so the entire inside looks like no one's even living in it, but all that stuff is really in the back. So you can fit an extreme amount of stuff in the car. I'm an upright bass player also, and I've fit 2 full-size upright basses in the back of it, which is really impressive. I showed that to my dad and he was just amazed. We went and picked up his bass and dropped off my bass. We were able to fit them both in at the same time. And then let's see, I had a couple other things. Oh, terrain is something that I was kind of worried about, but really I've been able to go almost anywhere. The thing that might hold it back is clearance. If there's not enough clearance, you're going to scrape up against the bottom because it's a low car. But the snow and the mud and everything like that, I've been able to go on dirt roads. I've been able to go through some blizzards. You know, I was going through Vail Pass one night at 2 in the morning. The blizzard had been going on. The roads are filled with ice. absolutely no issues at all. And I was just really amazed by that as well. And then let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. There's been, repairs on the road too. So I've only had to get 2 control arms replaced. And those were both above 90,000 miles. Before that, there wasn't a single repair that I had to get done to the car. And so I would just stop at random service centers to hang out and talk, but really I didn't have to worry about it. The couple times that I had to stop, one time it was in Los Angeles, and I went to one service center, and they, I just showed up, no appointment, and they couldn't help me. But I went 20 miles, to the next one, and they were able to take care of me right there. And so if there's a supercharger or a service center there, you don't really have to worry about it. They'll work with you as long as if it's dangerous, they'll fix it right there. They won't, one of the control arms, it was just a noise. And I went and they go, you know what, you don't have to worry about it. It's just noisy. Get it fixed when you have a chance. So I went on to the next service center. But if it was, a broken glass or something like that, they would have taken me in without an appointment and fixed it. When I'm sleeping in the car, in the winter, it takes about 20% of my battery to heat it. And that's at, negative 10 degrees outside. So you can have it 75 degrees inside, negative 10 outside. You don't even realize that, anything's going on. You just have to do 20%. And then in the summer and the spring, Jaden was, I think it's about that with 13%, 13% is what I would use. And that's, again, air conditioning the entire time. And so I've, my goal now, I'm waiting for the border to open up, and then I'm going to go up and try to do the same thing in Canada for the next year. But until then, I'm just kind of hanging out still, exploring the supercharger and network, and just seeing how far we can push the Model 3.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Arthur. And I love your tip about icing. I think that's a great idea. Kind of strike up the conversation and make a friend first. And then, because I think most people just do need to be educated. A lot of people honestly don't know what a charger is, So I've been at many hotels where they just have them kind of randomly placed and no signage. And most of the people that I've talked to just have no idea even what that is. So that's a great tip. And then I love your other tip too. If you're ever nervous about range, slowing down is just by far and away the best thing you can do. Newbies ask all the time, oh, should I turn the radio off? Should I? No, slow down. You might want to turn your heat or your air down or off, but mainly just slow down. I actually did a 275-mile leg back in 2016 between Missouri and Iowa, where there was not much for charging, on 244 miles of charge, and I made it. So it can be done just by slowing down, which for some of us is not easy. But so there you have it. Well, thanks again, Arthur. So anybody have road trip questions?
Yeah, this is Dave. I've got a question for Keith. I noticed that, can you hear me, Keith?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. I noticed on your map of San Bernardino that it seemed like there were a bunch of CCS chargers in the area there. How well can you get status on their use or availability? Are they on different networks?
They're on a ton of networks. I mean, I have 9 charger apps on my phone. I've got plenty of apps, and I basically was just making sure that I was looking at the 2 that had the highest rating on PlugShare that I felt were the most reliable from previous experiences using, Electrify America or, PlugShare, EVgo, Blink. Blink is probably the least reliable network, but there are times where we've used it.
Can you get real-time information on whether they're in use or not?
Electrify America does, and so does ChargePoint. They do.
Okay, that's very helpful. And it seems like, and I think what I've seen is that there's only like maybe 2, maybe 4 outlets at any one of these locations, right?
Yeah, the non-Tesla superchargers, CHAdeMO or CCS, there's usually only 2 at any location.
Okay, cool.
Some of the
Thanks.
LA locations, I've seen 10 or 12.
I'm sorry, where?
Up in like LA area, I think it was, I don't know, one of the malls up near Glendale area, I think had a bunch of Electrify America ones.
Yeah, but were they level 2 or were they a DC fast charge?
DC fast charge.
Wow.
Oh, I
That's
think.
good.
Oh yeah, that rooftop at Pasadena that's attached to the mall there.
Right.
No, it was, I think Livermore maybe. I don't know. I've got a picture of it because they were kind of cool. They're all lit up green. And then there were Tesla superchargers near there, but I'd have to look and see which location it was. But I know I think it was LA or Orange County somewhere.
Okay, that's good. Thanks.
But yeah, any other road trip questions?
I was gonna say I did a road trip down to Ensenada, but like most of the time I never take pictures. So I just plugged my car into the hotel parking garage, and that was it for the night. Next morning it was full.
Cool.
Yeah.
It looks like there are enough destination chargers now to go all the way to the tip of Baja. Has anyone done that yet?
Mm-mm.
I've seen the ones in Ensenada, but I haven't yet to go. I was planning on going, but COVID put in squash.
I went down and tried to get a little bit past Tijuana. I got probably about 20 minutes past Tijuana, and then Federale pulled me over and exploited me, and I said, I think I need to turn around and go back.
They're bums. Good deal.
Well, speaking
yeah.
of that,
How
has
much-
anyone experienced any of the antagonistic ICE drivers that you read about in the press?
I never have.
Nope.
That's
No.
good.
This isn't
Yeah.
a question, but a sort of a feedback to Arthur saying he doesn't like to do any planning. Once you're over the fact that you don't need to do a whole lot of planning, if any, to be able to figure out where to charge, I think you ought to look at things like Roadside America and a few other websites that tell you where all the balls of string are and other unusual things along the way, which makes America a great place to drive through and see some pretty unusual things in places. For example, I was on a trip to Kanab, Utah, and stopped off, I think it was in Quartzsite, and there's someone that has a gum wrapper museum where they've got gum wrappers from like the 1900s forward. So you can go in and see all these different types of candy packaging. So you never know what you're going to find, and that's one of the beauties of taking a road trip.
So on that same note, my blog that I write about where I'm going and stuff, the menu is sorted by state, and then you click on the state and it breaks it down by charging station, and then you pick on the charging station and it's all the places that I've gone around that charging station with the address of the charger there and how many miles the place is away from the charger. So it's kind of that whole Roadside America Atlas Obscura thing connected with the charging.
Excellent. That's awesome. Yeah, I've found some amazing places. One time I was in New Hampshire and I was heading for Maine, and there's not a lot of charging there. I mean, I think there's more superchargers now, but in 16 there weren't. And so I stopped at Moon Mountain, which I had skied there before years ago, and it was October, and they had an 80 amp destination charger. So I plugged in, and then I, found out that the gondola was open for, checking out the fall color, and then went up to the top where they had, kind of like a bar area open, had a glass of wine. They had a guitar player up there who had come in just for like a little tour group that had just left. So it was myself, 2 other people, and this guitar guitar player, you know, and it's kind of like, what a nice way to wait for your car to charge for an hour. You know? So
Yeah.
you really find some nice places. But let's
Hey,
see.
Elaine, we
Other
got a couple
questions?
people with hands up.
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to see if
Dave
everybody.
Ray and Steve.
So go ahead and jump right in, people.
Hey, Dave Ray, go. Dave Ray, you got your hand up? Or Steve? Got your hand up?
I think they can't unmute.
Everybody should be able to unmute.
Okay, now it's working. Thank you.
Dave.
Quick question. I've seen this before and I've used the EV Go or the ChargePoint, PlugShare apps to look for chargers, and they come up being inside a hotel where they're only allowed for the guests, or they're inside a condo association. How do you get over that limitation? How do you kind of counteract for those restricted chargers when you're trying to, especially if you're far from home?
Yeah, I find that, you know, if you're a ways away, if you call ahead, a lot of times if it's a hotel, if they have a hotel bar or restaurant, if you even have a Coca-Cola at their bar, they're happy to let you charge. And, you know,
okay.
some places are a little fussy, but for the most part, almost everywhere that I've ever asked has told me, like, yeah, go ahead and charge. They don't mind. But, you know, you are going to run into some restricted places. If it's a condo or even a workplace or something, you know, sometimes there's just no way around it.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm. Steve, you had your hand up?
Yes, that picture that's on the screen right now, that was my only question, is where is that? That is amazing.
Oh, that's the Bonneville Salt Flats. So that was right after a huge rainstorm right outside of Salt Lake City. So
Wow, that's my favorite photo of the whole thing tonight.
thank you.
Yeah,
So
your
how fast
pictures
did you
are-
go there? Did you set a land speed record there in your three?
Oh, you know, since it had just rained, I couldn't drive onto the flats. They had cement blocks blocking it off. I wanted to, but you know, there were perfect reflections of the mountains because of all the rain, though, so it was still worth it.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, there's a speed limit on the road then.
Well, you know, there were a couple other people there so.
Good deal. All right.
Any
Any other questions?
Well, I have another question for all the older 2015 and older Tesla owners. Is anyone experiencing a constant whine no matter how long your car is parked?
Nope, might be a drag unit though.
You mean while it's parked though?
Yeah.
So some sort of pump or fan?
Yeah, it's like a fan sound.
And it just never quits? Because sometimes it's cooling for one reason or another.
My audio seems to be working. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Great.
go ahead.
Ray, yeah. I was just curious whether the camping that was illustrated, is that possible to be done in a Model 3 or only the Y?
So you can fit a twin mattress in the back of the Model 3. I sleep in it almost, you know, whenever I'm on the road. I'll do the back sometimes, and then I'll do the driver's seat if I'm only going to do a couple hours. I have had another person in there. It's a tight fit with 2 people, but you can do it.
In a 3, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else with a question? We will wrap it up.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. Excuse me. Thanks to all of our speakers. You were all wonderful. And if you have any questions for any of our speakers, you can go ahead and email me and I'll get you their contact info. Thanks for joining us. And if you'd like to help out in any way, we're still looking for some people to help out with just even helping prepare the presentation. We're also going to be starting National Drive Electric Week presentations and developing some online content. So feel free to reach out and get involved. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
See you next month.